Patreon versus OnlyFans for non-adult themes. Which is best? Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. So this video is a bit of research into which is best, Patreon or OnlyFans. So if you're not familiar with Patreon or OnlyFans or other similar websites, what they enable you to do is to produce exclusive content, video content, photographic content, written pieces, art pieces, whatever it is, behind a paywall, so that you have your fans, your subscribers, let's say from YouTube in this case, but it could be from Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is, Facebook, and you can direct them to this Patreon site or OnlyFans site, or even to another website, let's say, that enables you to have a private members area. Okay. Then you can upload your exclusive content that people have to pay for. Okay, so many YouTubers use Patreon to provide this exclusive content for their fans. Indeed, YouTube themselves have a private members area or a membership program as well, which offers the same thing. Your choice of whether to go with YouTube, let's say, or with the Patreon is usually down to ease of use, but also how much you're willing to pay over as a commission to either YouTube or to Patreon to enable you to provide this exclusive content. However, there are restrictions within, let's say, YouTube and within Patreon that they don't allow adult themes or they don't allow adult content. Now, if you're not producing that content, you'd have nothing to worry about. However, if you are, or if you're producing content that may be slightly risque, not only in terms of visuals, but also in terms of what you're saying, it could be political, it could be social, it could be anything. If you're on that end of the spectrum, then maybe YouTube and Patreon is not going to be for you. Indeed, they may not allow your content to be on there in the first place. So this is where OnlyFans comes in. So it's exactly the same process. They enable you as a content creator to have exclusive content behind a paywall, but they also allow unrestricted content as well. So adult entertainment, adult themes. It could be polarized opinions, let's say. So whatever your fans like of your content, but they can't access that on YouTube or let's say on Patreon or whatever, but you can go to OnlyFans and then you can supply it there. So there is a paywall and they subscribe to your channel, whatever it is, and then you can show them all your wares if that's the case, or you can give out your views on life and love and politics, whatever it is. Now, many people have the perception that OnlyFans is purely for the adult entertainment, adult performing industry, let's say. And this could not be further from the truth. In fact, many celebrities over the last couple of years have been using OnlyFans to distribute their exclusive content. It's got nothing to do with sexual images or provocative images or anything like that. It's purely exclusive content, and they're using OnlyFans as their preferred platform. So this is where I am at. Which is best? Is it YouTube membership? Is it Patreon? Is it OnlyFans? Or is it your own website and you have your private members area? Now, if you're on YouTube and you use it more than any other social media platform, and that's exactly how I am, then it kind of makes sense that you use YouTube as well as your private members area, because it works flawlessly. You can use it, or you can advertise it within the platform, and it kind of works within YouTube themselves in terms of their community guidelines. However, if you want to have something separate from YouTube, which is also very advantageous, then you may want to go to something like Patreon. Now, the great thing about using a platform like YouTube, Patreon or OnlyFans is that it's a platform that you can access. You don't have to worry about the programming, you don't have to worry about the design per se. It's all there as a template, and you just tap in your details and start uploading your exclusive content. However, if you have your own website and a private area, members only area, then obviously that's going to involve quite a lot of work. But you've also got to be aware that website and website hosting may have restrictions on the kinds of content that you display on there as well. So there's always going to be some kind of limitation. So if you really want to go from the adult entertainment route, then really you're looking at either your own private website or OnlyFans, as many have already done. Now, these are not the only sites out there. There are actually many other websites out there which you can choose. However, I think it's safe to say that these are the most popular. What about if you don't want to produce adult content? Let's say, like myself, I produce motorcycle content, motorcycle themes, and I have motorcycle discussions, or it's all about workshop and tools and things like that. Should I even have a private members area or exclusive content? Well, I'm considering that myself, so that's why I'm researching it and which is best. I've even got a Patreon page already set up, although I haven't published it. I did have in the past a YouTube members area, which I didn't really activate, and a private members area or exclusive content area on my website, which I didn't really use that much either. So it can be done. It really depends on what kind of content that you want to produce and if you want to go that extra yard. The problem with producing exclusive content is that it's got to have some value as well. It's got to have some content value to your fans. We're going to have to take the fans of your content, let's say on YouTube, and we're going to have to move those fans over to OnlyFans or to Patreon. And you're going to have to provide exclusive content. So right now, I'm working out which is the best kind of exclusive content to produce. If you're in the adult entertainment industry, well, actually, this is a no-brainer in that you can use YouTube or anything just to talk about your daily life, let's say, and you can sexualize your image. That doesn't actually break any community guidelines. You can talk about fashion, let's say, and all that kind of stuff. But if you want to show a little bit more, then you can direct everybody to your OnlyFans. However, somebody who's not producing adult content, let's say like me, I'm talking about motorcycles, then it's actually quite an interesting dynamic to take your content away from YouTube, in my case, and take it to an exclusive content platform, let's say like Patreon or let's say like OnlyFans. What are you actually going to produce? So you're kind of going to produce stuff that is behind the scenes or stuff that is directly to your fans as opposed to the wider public. Now, most people are using a private members area, let's say on YouTube or on a website or Patreon or OnlyFans for extra income or extra support. Now, if you're going to the adult entertainment route, then obviously you can earn a substantial amount of money, especially if you're female, but also some men have been gaining success on there as well. But somebody who's not producing adult content, then maybe OnlyFans isn't the right thing anyway, because there is the stigma attached to it because people associate it with adult entertainment. But also you've got to be able to take your fans away from YouTube that are getting free content and also move them over to OnlyFans or Patreon for exclusive content. So let's say, for example, I've got to determine now which is the best route to go. Do I go for exclusive content on Patreon, on YouTube, on another website, on my own website, or do I go with OnlyFans? I think it's an interesting dilemma for those of us who do not have a huge fan base, who do not have a huge subscriber count or following, who are not overly active on other social media platforms as well. But you also want to produce exclusive content, but you may want to be free and liberal to discuss the themes that you want to discuss, let's say, without being in fear of breaking any community guideline, let's say on YouTube or on Patreon. So it's an interesting dilemma which direction that you would go, but also which direction I would go. I think I'm leaning towards Patreon, purely because I'm not really concerned about adult themes per se, but I do want to produce exclusive content. Now that could be from the workshop, that could be on my travels, or that could be on motorcycle themes, or having discussions in an adult manner rather than watching my P's and Q's when I'm making YouTube videos. So this is the dilemma that you're going to have yourself. Whatever content that you're going to produce, you have to determine what kind of exclusive content you want to produce, which platform is going to be best for you, and also you're going to have to determine how far along the spectrum is your exclusive content going to travel when you're discussing adult themes or in an adult conversation, let's say, or just behind the scenes content, or are you going to move it into adult content, which is a completely different thing. Exclusive content doesn't necessarily mean that it's always going to be private. In fact, many times Patreon content or OnlyFans content is leaked, it's copied, it's screen shared, and then people can access that as well. Yes, it's illegal to do that, but essentially people can still do it. So if you're making, let's say, very exclusive content and you're putting it behind a paywall, for example, just be aware that your identity, if you want to keep your identity private, may still get out. So you just got to be aware of that. If you're not producing any adult themed content, then it doesn't matter if your identity comes out per se, because you're not doing anything wrong or illegal, let's say, or that could be morally questioned, let's put it that way. Now, I produce motorcycle content or discussions about, those kinds of topics. Well, actually, who cares? It's not really going to be an issue. However, if you're doing something else, then obviously people could have different interpretations of that, whether it's legal or not. So that's something always to consider. Now, in this regard, the decisions that I make and the actions that I do can have negative consequences, or they can give off negative impressions. It really depends on what kind of content that you want to produce. However, if this is just about purely producing exclusive content for your fans, then really you can use any platform. It doesn't really make a difference. So if I'm thinking about producing exclusive content for my fan base, for my followers, for my subscribers, all I need to consider is what kind of exclusive content it's going to be, and I'm going to have to direct my followers, my subscribers, from one location to another. And that'll be, let's say, hey, go check out my exclusive content on here. Here's the link to it here, so on and so forth. How many will go over there and pay for that service? Well, I suppose it really depends what kind of content you're going to produce, what your fan base is, and how much they really want to watch your content. So it's definitely an interesting area. It's certainly something to consider. And for many people, it will be a dilemma whether you want to do that or not. You can still give people their free content, let's say on YouTube, but you could also offer an extra exclusive content, behind a paywall. Some will like it, some won't. It really depends. You're not saying to people, I'm not going to give you the free content anymore, but those wanting that extra little bit might be willing to pay, and how much you charge, that's entirely up to you. It really depends how much value that you put on it. So watch your space, really. Watch my channel whether I decide to go down that route. But I thought I'd make this video, which is not really motorcycle themed, but really give you an insight into what I'm thinking about for the channel, for my website, but also if I do start producing exclusive content, what kind of content that will be, and really where I'll host it as well. Hope you found that useful, and well, I'll catch you on the next video, whenever that is. Ta-da!